Straight overview, large gold project in Western Australia, 800 kilometres northeast of Perth. We think it's an emerging large-scale gold system. We've been through a process of consolidation of a large ground package. We've done that at very low cost, and we think it's a forgotten greenstone belt. Importantly to us, there's multiple mineralisation styles. We see this as a good thing, lots of different orientations. And last year we put together what we believe is just an initial resource of 240,000 ounces at a reasonable grade. We very much look at a systematic exploration approach, and that's backed up by the experience and the successful background of the management team. Just in the corporate summary, I guess the main takeaways there, market cap sitting around $15 million, a reasonable amount of cash for what we need to do at this point in time, $1.5 million in the bank. Top end of the registers, tightly held, top 10 accounts for about 37%, and that includes directors that are around 20%. Just going through, I'll let you look at the directors there. I'll just draw your attention to Mark Cossum. Mark's been an addition to the team for about the last 6 months, and the impact on the business has been quite substantial. Looking at the project, really we think we're looking for large-scale gold camps. We're in a Tier 1 jurisdiction, large-scale Archean gold system, close proximity to multi-million ounce gold camps. The only mining that was done here has been done in the late 1980s, early 90s, and really since then there's been very limited exploration history, and most of that hasn't really been too effective. As I mentioned before, we consolidated the land package, and we see that a program of systematic exploration will really be the catalyst to unlock the potential. It's worth noting too that it is an area that's under a bit of focus at the moment for regional consolidation. It's worthwhile just spending a little bit of time looking at the history and what opportunity that presents. So basically, it's trying to understand why has this area been so underexplored. As I said, Herald Resources mined a number of small open pits, late 80s, early 90s. Gold price environment, $500 an ounce. Herald made another substantial discovery further south at Sandstone, picked up the infrastructure and moved it. Gateway came in after this time, and over a substantial time put all the projects together. But it hasn't really been till 2018 that the consolidation of the area was complete, and refocus on gold exploration was undertaken. The strategy, I guess the word we like to use, is building a sustainable gold company. Certainly we've got a basis there of 240,000 ounces. We understand what we need to find to create that kind of business. We have a strong pipeline moving from the resource. We'll extend those. A lot of advanced targets, and as you'll see, we're developing new high quality targets all the time. Obviously, drilling is an important part, continuing to interrogate your data, and where applicable, building regional expansions to take up those kind of opportunities. We like to utilise good science, invest in quality, long-term data sets, and this makes sure that we drill when ready, and that ensures good capital management. So looking at the project itself, about 2 million ounce endowment in the general area. We've now tied up a coherent project over 60 strike kilometres, a lot of gold mineralisation along that corridor, and one thing that's good is a very good grade profile through the district. Previous explorers, they haven't touched this. There's a lot of transported cover, but we've done some recent work, and the obstacles that previous people have seen, we don't think they're actually there. We've been in the area for probably 2 years working on the Montague granodiorite, and the learnings we've got from that we're now taking out to the rest of the belt. Low key, we've got a base metal opportunity. There's some pretty significant copper and zinc intersections through the project. That's for another time. And the thing I'm talking about quite a bit is investment in high quality core data sets. So looking at the project, that's a geology plan. You're looking there with all our drilling. Really our key focus is the western margin of the Montague granodiorite. It's a 9 kilometre long structural zone, very heavily mineralised. Just for completeness, the eastern side, the geology is almost exactly the same, so another 9 or 10 kilometres, same geology, and that basically hasn't had an effective drill hole into it. So really we have the feeling that we're onto a camp scale type opportunity. The best analogy geologically that we have is the King of the Hills or Tarmula gold deposit that Red Hill are now developing, and that's a 4 million ounce gold deposit. The gold's associated with stockwork zones and also multiple high-grade shear zones. One thing that's very pertinent is looking at the effectiveness of drilling. What I did then was I just took off any drilling that was shallower than 50 metres. In fact, probably the majority of that is less than about 20 metres. It's interesting that at about 20 or 30 metres below surface, there's a bit of a depletion zone, and 80% of the previous drilling has stopped in that zone. So obviously needs to drill deeper. Looking at Whistler, this is one of our resource areas, 120,000 ounces. The mineralisation is hosting granodiorite stockwork. It's open over about 900 metres along strike and remains open totally at depth. And the next phase of work we're doing there is targeting resource growth and actually looking for parallel new discoveries. If we look at the main Whistler trend, as I said, 900 metres. If we take it down to the Montague prospect, that takes that out to about 1.4 kilometres. This is all very, very shallow drilling, good widths, reasonable grades, and the fact that it's close to surface is obviously something we can chase up. Something that's just starting to, from our geological evaluation, is understanding the northeast controls on the mineralisation, and what that does is highlight numerous structures that we haven't even looked at this point in time. In addition to Whistler, there's some new targets, supergene gold mineralisation, very shallow, close to surface, on what we see as a major structural corridor at Armada. And the gravity work we've done is showing that the Whistler gold mineralisation probably plunges off to the north. This is a long section of the deposit, really just drawing attention to look at the geometry of what how the resource is captured, very much constrained by drilling, plenty of scope to drill along to the north and to the south, and some of the highest grades that we've got in the deposit are at depth, and certainly that's going to be a target into the future for us. Looking at Montague, Montague is located just to the south of Whistler. Once again, there's a 120,000 ounce gold resource there. The mineralisation is hosted both in the granodiorite and the mafic rocks. We did some drilling there in October. The results were complementary to the work we've been doing on the resource, and we see there's the ability for that to continue to expand. It's totally open down dip. Along strike, 1.5 kilometres of strike north and south of the current resource along the granodiorite margin. There's some shallow drilling along the top of that, and what we have there is what we do have is very anomalous. The thing that's really getting us excited once again is this northeast control. If you look through there, we've got half a dozen structures, very wide space drilling, very good thicknesses at very, very good grades, and these things are really new structures that haven't really been looked at, and certainly going to be a focus for us in the short term. Achilles, we just keep moving south. Basically what Achilles is, it's a combination of a number of old areas, 3 small pits. We see it as one sort of central area, complex series of mineralised structures. The previous drilling has been largely ineffective. Last year we went in and did a program of work and consistently hit thick, good grade mineralisation. Once again, I make the point that this is very close to surface, so a lot of this is oxide and transitional. We need to drill deeper. There's a large-scale stockwork zone that is located to the immediate east of this zone, so we're doing some analysis on that, and potentially there's some good supergene oxide mineralisation associated with that. To the immediate north, there's a 600 metre strike length up to what we call the northeast pit. Basically no drilling, very high priority target for us. There's an area there we call S-bend, and very thick, or good thicknesses, and very, very good grades. Off to the immediate west, the Caledonian trend, we've identified that over about 1.5 kilometres. Again, some very good grade profile, 3 metres at 15.7, 2 at 24, and that just remains open north-south, and there's been no testing under the historical open pit there. This is becoming a very interesting area for us. We call it the Southern Corridor, but basically what it represents is the southern half of the major shear zone. There's 4 kilometres strike length. Very, very little drilling has been done in it. Most of it is under about 10 metres, just very shallow reconnaissance work. The structure's the same, the geology is the same. We can just take the geological structural concepts that we've taken from the north and apply it to that area. The other thing we've done, I'll show you, is that we've just applied some very low-cost geochemical sampling, which has had major benefits. Just as an example, we've got a whole bunch of prospects that have been previously drilled, but not extended, and particularly understanding this northeast orientation that we're now aware of. Airport South, 500 metre strike length. When you join the two up in that northeast trend, best intersection, 23 metres at 13. Plenty of other wide intercepts. Again, this is all in the top 50 metres, never been drilled at depth, and totally open along strike to the northeast and to the southwest. On top of that, this is the work we've done with the geochemistry. Previously, explorers have thought that this technique doesn't really work here, and so we've just applied it, and we've come up some major corridors that now need the next phase of exploration to be undertaken. Whilst I'm on geochemistry, to have a quick look at main prospect on the eastern margin, we call it Kashmir. So basically we came in, it's worth pointing out, geologically very consistent with what we've seen at Montague and Whistler. The Howards deposit is not owned by us on our southern tenement boundary. That's a 200,000 ounce gold deposit. Structure goes immediately north into our tenement, and we've got a 1.8 kilometre very strong gold and silver anomaly. So that obviously is a major target for us going into the future. Stepping out away from the Montague Dome, there's an area out to the west of us, and what we're doing there is looking for oxide gold caps. There's a 7 kilometre long trend. It sits over the top of a VMS base metal system, and basically what we've looked at there is there a substantial oxide gold sitting on top of it. We've done a couple of programs there, and as you can see, very good widths, relatively high grade, and once again very shallow, close to surface. I mentioned the copper earlier on. One of the prospects called Flame Tree, again very close to surface, and you can see good thicknesses at reasonable grades. It is a big VMS system. It's not our focus. There's some obvious EM targets that could be looked at some stage, but we'll get around to that at the appropriate time. Stepping back out again, we picked up this big land holding for a purpose. We see the ability to go through and do first pass exploration, cheap exploration. We've got obvious targets to get into in the first instance. Multiple deposit types, I won't go through those, but really there's a couple of candidates for low-cost exploration techniques in the short term. It's worthwhile just looking at the regional dynamic. There's about 2 million ounces in combined resources in the district. Really hasn't had a lot of work done for a long time. We're centrally located. There's 5 large-scale gold operations within trucking distance, and most people probably be aware that there's some very active corporate dynamics going on in the district at the moment. Creating optionality, I guess this is driven by the fact that we want to be 100% focused on our flagship Gidgee project. What it does is gives us exposure to other commodities in other regions. Optionality is a big part of what we do. You can have a look, the companies we've got investments in, Alloy, Discovex and Aurus Minerals, worth having a look at. Just coming up, just to finish up, programs of work. We're getting back out in the field. We've been a little bit disrupted. Soil sampling commencing now. RC drilling will get up and going in June, go through into July, followed by air core drilling, and we'll continue to work on our quality data sets. So parting comments, prospective bit of ground. We've created a big project. We think it's going to be very well endowed. We've got a good technical team that's got a great success record. We've got reasonable cash backing at the moment, supported well by the top end of our register. Focused. We love the Gidgee project, but we love the optionality, and we've continued to focus in on what we're doing. Thank you very much.